Yeah, why?
Looks like.
Smart guy, and put your name on the first. Oh, see this one? In that back.
No. When I signed it.
So.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We're gonna call the August 7th Town of Ione Council meeting order. We're gonna start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you.
Okay, John's gonna read the minutes from the last meeting.
All right, so these are the minutes from the July 7th meeting. Mayor Pro Tem and Shipley called the regular meeting of the Ione Town Council to order at 7:00 p.m. with the following council members present: Serba, Vogel, Ed Shipley, and McNeil, as well as employee Cannon. Started with Pledge of Allegiance. Minutes from the July 3rd, 2024 regular meeting were read and approved as read. Motion was made by McNeil, seconded by Serba to approve accounts payable in the amount of $24,775.51. Motion passed unanimously. The mayoral vacancy process to fill the vacancy in the office of the mayor was discussed. It was made by McNeil, seconded by Shipley. Post notice asking for letters of interest. Posting will be published in the Newport Liner and Selkirk Sun, and will also be physically posted at Town Hall, the P Court, and the post office at Ione. The deadline for submissions will be August 2nd. Passed unanimously. The council further discussed the process to review letters of interest and to appoint a mayor. Council will ask interested parties to attend the council meeting on August 7th to be interviewed by the council. President Dan Nutt asked the council if the town's attorney had reviewed the process to ensure it meets legal requirements. As Shipley advised that we have not had the attorney review, but that he has reviewed the pertinent RCW and its content of the proceeding in the correct and legal fashion. Council discussed formation of commission. President Mike Evans asked about how the commissions would work, as he was concerned that it would cut the full council out of this decision-making process. The council and Evans discussed how commission responsibilities would work. Full council would still need to vote on issues, but a commission would allow single point of contact and would provide someone to handle the minutiae details that are unnecessary to bring. Cannon reviewed the special use permit application from Trailblazers and NPOB line. And provided insurance documentation and liquor license document. And well seconded by M. Shipley to approve the special use permit. Motion passed unanimously. Cannon provided a draft copy of Ordinance 650, which would amend Ordinance 615 and 385. The council reviewed and arrived at consensus that this draft should be reviewed by the town attorney before any additional action is taken. Cannon to provide a copy of the draft to the attorney and comment. President Dan Nutt asked about the easiest way to organize ordinances that are easily understandable. He's concerned with using a new ordinance to amend an existing ordinance, confusion and difficulty in enforcement. Council and audience discussed pros and cons of different existing ordinances and the associated legal requirements. M. Shipley reported on the airport's helipad relocation project moving forward. POC Fire would burn the slash files for us in the fall, winter when the weather is conducive. M. Shipley also reported that signs banning use of muffled compression brakes were ordered and will be placed at entrances to town. Sturba reported that Ione does not have an ordinance banning compression brakes and suggested that we should create it. She provided an example ordinance from Paulville. Council discussed this issue among themselves and with residents in attendance. It was determined that we would start with the signs, evaluate if they have a positive impact, and then readdress as necessary. Those will provide a COAF update. Next deadline is August 15th for technical review. We'll bring the authorizing ordinance to the next council meeting for a vote. As Shipley sidewalk project is moving forward, locate work is done this week. As Shipley asked about the MOU with Conway County Sheriff, the council will review and plan to vote and sign the agreement at the next council meeting. As Shipley asked if complete streets ordinance had been sent to attorney for legal review, and advised that he did not recall, but he would confirm and give that Shipley enough. McNeil had nothing to report. Conway County Sheriff Blakely provided an update on 2 recent law enforcement calls. He confirmed that the owners of the recent dog bite incident have been ticketed. He also advised they're looking for information on the white 4-door pickup truck. Yeah, that if anyone sees a white 4-door pickup truck that is acting suspicious or seems out of place, please contact the sheriff. Blakely also advised that a seminar taking place in Newport on July 19th, educating citizens on how best to leverage their legislators in Olympia. The event will be live streamed by the Selkirk Sun for anyone not able to. The meeting was adjourned at 8:05 p.m.
Any corrections on the minutes? Okay, minutes stand as read. Since Sheriff Blakely's talking to us about the white 4-door pickup, it's amazing how many white 4-door pickups there are.
Yeah. That's a
around
good.
Canada. Okay, the town council meetings are governed by our version of Robert's Rules of Order. Like order. Okay, so may I have a motion to approve payroll in the amount of $13,827.16?
So moved.
Is that a second?
That's.
You're a fan more than anything. All agree?
Aye.
Opposed? And that was payroll. May I have a motion to approve bills in the amount of $38,524.86?
So moved.
Second.
Move in 2 seconds.
Who do I put down? I think Sturba. He did it.
Okay. So are all agreed?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thanks. Our guest is Blake McMillan.
So last July total, we had 218 calls for service in Fire District 2, 186 were EMS, 10 were fire, 18 motor vehicle collisions, and 4 others. The town of Ione had a total of 13, 11 EMS calls, and 2 fire. So the fire could be typically the neighbor calling in because someone. We didn't have any structure.
We heard that one fire was started by a squirrel.
That would be in this next month.
Oh, okay.
The squirrel paid on the.
Right,
Any
squirrel.
question?
No, thanks. Okay, old business, mayoral vacancy. So the council has a decision to make appointing mayor. At the last meeting, I read the process according to the RCW. And what it amounted to was we had the choice of opening the position to letters of interest. I believe we got one from somebody who doesn't actually live in town. So that didn't work. Did we get any more?
We have not received any more. We're being
So the council is gonna have to appoint someone. They can select someone who they feel is qualified. It could be someone that's on the council or someone else who is qualified. So what we'll do is we'll open for a motion to, as an appointment for mayor. And then it needs to be seconded if it gets seconded. And then there can be some discussion if you like. So it is now open for a motion.
From us or from them or from everybody?
From the council is the one who's making this decision. You guys can make a motion, and if there's a second, then we'll discuss it.
So is this something that we can talk more about?
Yes, if there's a motion and a second, then there can be discussion. According to Robert's rule. I get silence.
Sure.
I think the council should talk more about what we want
Yeah.
to do.
I make a motion that we open it for discussion.
Yes.
So that's how it works. There has to be a motion. And then a second, and then a discussion, and then a vote. So the discussion happens second.
After we have
Motion a second, discussion.
Richard made a motion, and I seconded.
I didn't hear the motion.
I make a motion that we open it for discussion.
Okay, so.
But are you looking for someone to appoint, or are you looking to open it to say, yes, we're going to appoint someone?
He's looking for somebody to second his.
You are gonna appoint,
It doesn't have to be tonight.
legally, it doesn't have to be.
Because don't we have 90 days?
We have 90 days from the time that previous mayor
Signed.
resigned.
what was that date?
I don't have it off the top of my head. I can get it fairly quickly, but it was July. So it was read at 2 council meetings ago. Council.
Was it
So
right there?
it would have been. And so
We're about a month in, so we've got about 60 days.
So we could actually put it up until the next meeting. And that way we can, since we have nobody in the public that's in, then we can focus on ourselves. And shouldn't that also be in a closed meeting anyway?
That was gonna be my
No,
question, if you can you just discuss amongst the
It
council
can be-
members, executive, just
Yeah.
to ask?
Exactly.
It can be discussed in an executive session, which we could call right now, if we want. But the vote has to be public.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. I understand that, but I'm saying, shouldn't we have some where we sit down, if we have to pick somebody and we discuss it among ourselves, come up with a plan, and then come back in and say, okay, we're gonna have,
So are you making a motion that we move to executive session?
I was thinking we could have an executive session between now and the next council.
No, it has to be during the
Oh, that
or
council,
else that's special.
yeah, because we don't,
Or can you do it at the very end?
Yeah.
So
It
that,
could be at the end, it could be anytime. We can take a 10-15 minute special session during the council meeting. But keep in mind, the letter closed,
so they're closing.
they're closed, they were.
No.
One, but I didn't realize he wasn't living inside the town limit. Last I knew, he lived right next door to the clerk, town clerk. That's,
Well, I'm not sure who you're referring to, but the one letter of letter of interest that was received from the, so.
oh, yeah,
No. Somebody I don't even, I have no idea who they are. They live out on Pat Mountain Ridge Road. They're new to the area. So they're a nice lady, very interested, but just didn't, the call I.
I know one person approached me here a week and a half ago and says, I want to be interested in that, so he said I submitted a letter.
has been received in the office. And I mean, we did have the deadline last Friday, but, the council, want to extend the deadline, set them after the deadline, that's at your discretion to do. But yeah,
Well, one was down River Days, he talked to me that Friday and said I submitted it. But,
When he had talked to me, he hadn't done it yet.
huh?
He hadn't done it yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, what I would like to do is have an executive session at the end of the meeting and then bring this back up at next council. If that would be.
I thought
Is that a motion?
That's a motion. If we have an executive meeting at the end of this meeting and then bring it back up. And have a decision and have a vote.
And then
Because I mean, I would
second
like to
that.
talk to everybody to get people.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. So we'll do. Okay,
Somebody have a question out here, I saw something.
yeah. The red hat, you got a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, when it started, how it got out there. I'd be interested.
So the process started when the mayor resigned. And then right after that, we put out a letter of interest, notification, looking for letters of interest in the paper, as well as the posted locations, one at the post office, one at the grocery store, and one out here in the foyer.
Yep.
Did we put it in both papers?
we put it in the Newport Miner, the Selkirk Sun, and the Selkirk Sun, I believe, put it on their Facebook.
You do.
And that was, what was the starting time of that?
July 3rd.
July 3rd.
July 3rd, sounds right. Are you satisfied with that?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what, because I didn't know anything about it.
Okay, so motion has been made, seconded, and agreed to that will an executive session at the end of this meeting.
I saw a hand out there.
Stephanie, please.
So I know you want to put a letter in, and I won't sort of letter stating it needs to.
Thank you. Okay, back to the agenda. Okay, we got that done for now. Next business is the COA authorization resolution. Got something for us on that?
Yeah, so, we have the, applicant resolution authorization form here. This is the last remaining item, to be, submitted for the COF grant. It's in technical review right now from July 15th through August 15th. So by August 15th, it needs to have the final submission. And this is the last bit of that, just acknowledging that the actual town plan is interested in investing in the process and everything involved. It is not a commitment, so that if we forward, money is actually granted or awarded, there's still more processes to go through, which if the terms are not acceptable, it's still possible to walk away. We have to submit, and this can be. So.
Okay. And so, do we need to take an action on it right now?
Yeah, well, we need to vote if we're going to sign on it, or it needs to just be signed, basically. I don't know if it's something we actually need to vote on. Actually, yeah, we do need to.
And so that the subject is, we're gonna vote on whether or not to move forward with COAF.
Yeah, and sign the application resolution.
So if we're gonna vote on it, we need a motion. So
I'll move that we vote for, sign it and get moving forward with the COF. Yeah,
COAF.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion that we need to do amongst ourselves in this regard? I think.
Unless there's any other
covered it pretty
questions
well.
or anything like that, yeah, there's nothing at this point that needs to be decided. So,
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so the motion is voted. Thanks, Richard. Hazard mitigation plan update?
Yeah, so just wanted to provide kind of an update to the council and the community. So, the county as well as all the towns within the county go through a process every several years for a hazard mitigation, plan. So what's our planning for, significant disasters, wildfire, earthquake, volcano, things of that nature. So it's a process that we go through. There's going to be some people down at the county fair this upcoming week with some presentation materials as well, publicizing it to the community. In addition, there's also a survey that's open to the public. So there are some flyers on the table over there with that survey info. So if you're interested in helping to shape how the county and the town handles hazard mitigation plans as we move forward, you're more than welcome and encouraged to go on and take that survey. The one thing that I wanted to share, and I apologize, we don't have a great screen share up there, but we do have the big exercise that we just got done doing was putting together all of the risk rankings for the town. So I did want to kind of review that quickly. So I don't know how well you can see that on there, but basically we looked at all these different hazards, looked at the probability, the magnitude and severity if it did happen, the extent, so how many people would be impacted if it happened, and then how much forewarning there was. So obviously the worst disaster would be something that has a high probability, a high severity, will impact a large number of people and has a very low warning time, right? So in the context of all of that, basically we came out and ranked, wildfire as our most significant hazard. I think that's probably no surprise to anybody. That was followed by severe weather, followed by drought, climate change, and then earthquake, landslides, avalanche, volcano, and flood. So Ione is not too susceptible to those other ones. Probably the top few, the wildfire, severe weather, and drought are the ones to pay attention to, but that's how we scored it and submitted, and that's pretty much in line with most of what the county, has
is
done.
there flooding?
It's low for Ione specifically because we don't have too much impact by flooding directly, on us. It's higher in some areas, but we don't have a whole lot of critical facilities that are in floodplains, right? If the park flooded, that would be, an issue. We do have some significant concern flooding could impact our sewage lagoons. That's probably the biggest thing. We don't, the whole town isn't in the floodplain, our whole water system, all of that. So a lot of our resources are safe. So, any questions on that?
Okay, thanks, John. And the next piece of business is a memorandum of understanding. We got that back from the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
and the lawyer. And everybody's looked it over, familiar with it. So then the question for the action would be to vote on whether we accept this, go by this. If you find anything in that memorandum that you disagree with, it's pretty straightforward to me.
Yes. I make a motion to be accepted as is.
Okay. All in favor?
Alright,
Opposed? Accepted.
I apologize, I missed the second. You seconded?
Yeah, three of them. Good. Okay, new business, fraud training.
Yeah, so that's another just update that I wanted to give, quickly, mostly to the council. But Newport had brought in a trainer with the state auditor's office to provide some training on, fraud prevention, which I thought was valuable to, go and attend. And so, it was good overall, general information. The thing that really stuck in my mind that impacts, Ione in particular is one of the best ways to mitigate fraud is to divide your process up between multiple people, right? We don't have multiple people, right? So we don't have 5 or 6 different people to handle each step of a financial process to ensure no, collusion. So when you don't have the resources to break that process up among different people, then you really have to rely on your, follow-up, process. And so for Ione, a lot of the follow-up process is the council, right? It's you guys looking at the checks before you sign up, looking at the accounts receivable. It's looking at the treasurer's report that is provided on a monthly basis. So just, like I said, there was nothing groundbreaking out of that, but it just really, made it clear to me how important, your guys' role and oversight, because we don't have a large enough staff to break up our financial transactions, processes into different, people and compartmentalized that. So with that being said, I know that I provide the treasurer's report on a monthly basis. I don't get too many questions on it, so I wonder, are you guys all familiar with what's on that, how to read it, what you should be looking for? If not, would you find it valuable to carve some time out of a council meeting in the future for me to review that in more detail?
I would do.
Okay.
And I think it would be good for anybody that, any of the members that are here, just to see how things work.
Sure. So I will look to get that scheduled on a upcoming, council meeting, possibly depending on what the agenda looks like for the next council meeting, because I will be providing the treasurer's report next council meeting one way. Yeah, good opportunity for it. Yeah, I'll put that in.
Another layer of security is state audit.
Yes.
And the last state audit that we went through this year, we came through with flying colors. We did great. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and to that point, the last 13 years of audit have come back pretty spotless.
We did it. You will be back. There'll be more. Okay, the next new business item is town logo. Sharon, do you have something on the town logo for us?
So I'm gonna pull it up here. I didn't print it out. I did nice. The color printer is not. I
Yeah,
don't think
feel
we
free to
do.
come up and take a look at it if you like.
and is that our current one?
No,
We don't have it.
we don't. Not really. There was an old police badge, one. Set up my own police.
What was the one that he showed us, that showed,
It's on the pin.
yeah,
It was. Which we don't have. police.
So we had a couple little versions of stuff around, but nothing like we had that one example that was on a pin, and we had a slightly altered example of that was on an original drawing. But as far as being able to take something to, to digitize, to reproduce, put on different things, those.
we should open that up, discussion, let people give input. But we need like 1 or 2, not just one.
We need it. Go ahead.
We didn't have. We did, we had.
Yeah.
But we did have the city. And, I was one.
Okay. Thank you.
And the other thing, did you guys ever attend the Association of Washington State, the yearly seminar? almost all the cities have flags. Well, cities. They actually go right in the, well, it's the right way, but it will be, man.
All right, thanks.
So where did this one come from, Sharon?
I kind of sort of created it.
Looks great.
That's nice.
No, I totally agree. I think we need to do something that, for one, could help with branding, and set it apart.
Yeah.
I'm so too. We need to get the community in, if they feel part. That's pretty important. Everybody's gonna be living with it for the next 100 years. And the people who live here, I feel, should be the ones that produce it, provide it, come up with the idea. What do the people of this town think of what our logo should be and what would represent Ione Vet?
I think that's a great idea, Corey. Are you willing to spearhead that?
That's not a big deal.
Okay. Yeah, create a contest. Cool.
Kids involved, they love this.
We have some artists in town too.
Yeah.
This, I like this one. That's very nice.
Right?
All right. Thanks, Corey.
Thank you, Sharon.
Okay, the next item is cannabis retail license.
Yeah, so this is one, it's similar to all the liquor license renewals that we get, you take no act and then it goes through, you have an opportunity to object if you want. But Pi has secured a second cannabis-like retail license and has intention to reopen at the prior dispensary location, that he has over there. So, it being that it's been there in the past, it's checked out as far as setbacks, legal, all of that stuff. Is good, so I don't know that there's any legal hurdles to him, but, as the council, you have the opportunity to, object to that if you would like.
So the question is, are we approving his license?
Well, if you do nothing, it automatically approves. If you object, it may still approve, the state may override you, but there is an objection process. So if you wanted to object, you would need, I guess, a motion second and such for an objection, and then I can send the paperwork that says there's an objection to it. We'd ultimately have to come up with a reason for it, because basically the Liquor Control Board says, we've checked and it made sure that it meets all the legal requirements. So you do have the ability to object, but there's some, vetting, I guess. In other words, your objection isn't the final say. The Liquor Control Board is the final say.
Yes, ma'am.
The question is this a wholesale license?
Speak up, please.
Is this a wholesale license? Retail?
Retail.
Because I know he was using it wholesale at one point.
Correct, and that is still there in it. So I think he technically has 3 different businesses under 3 different places. 2 retail, 1 transportation or something.
So what's on the table is we're looking for, if there's an objection, there needs to be a motion, a second, discussion, and then a vote. If there's an objection.
I don't like marijuana, so I'm gonna object no matter what.
So if you want to make a motion that the council objects, then, and it gets a second, then we can discuss it and vote on
The people I talked to prior to this system all going into effect, they voted it down in the town. And the mayor somehow overruled it in.
So at this point, we have to have a motion
I
and
know.
a second, and then a discussion.
I move that we don't, renew.
So you're making a motion that we file an objection.
Yeah.
Is there a second? Okay, there's no second. And so it dies. And at that point, if the council license goes for. Okay. The next new business item is the state transportation improvement plan. Got some details on that one, Don?
Yeah, absolutely. So, every year we have to update the 6-year transportation improvement program. We've talked quite a bit about this. We've gotten some authorization to, apply for, some TID, grant funding. We talked about, some projects for speed control and drainage and, some general repair and everything. So what we've done is we've gone in and updated, kind of adjusted a little bit of the STIP to reflect, those new activities. So, I think everybody should have a copy there. But the big thing is, the first 3 items that all had to do with sidewalks, that were initially planned for 2025, we're able to roll those into a kind of town-wide single project that will address speed on Houghton 8, that'll address flooding and drainage issues up by Smackout, and then it will address sidewalks. So there's some ADA ramp sections that are not compliant, so we'll fix those. There's, I think, 77 panels of sidewalk that need to be repaired, and then there's some areas of sidewalk to put in. We're also looking to fund the construction portion of the sidewalk project that's being engineered right now down on First, out of this project. So that's why you see the kind of top 3, the dollar amounts went away, because the idea is we're essentially canceling those projects, rolling them up into this one big town-wide one. The reason or idea behind that is economies of scale. One of the things that's difficult is getting contractors and getting good, bid prices up here, because people don't want to travel out of Spokane to come up here for $100,000 job. So the idea of rolling that together is now we can look for bids for $1.5 million job. We can probably, get some economies of scale, get more work done for cheaper, and have a broader, audience of contractors that might be willing to bid, on that process. So that's the core, core change there. The rest of the items we really haven't changed specifically. And then we just added the one in for the maintenance. So the item number 7. So we'd also be targeting 2025 to do a town-wide crack and pavement repair. That would be followed by a chip seal the following year. So the plan is to get quite a bit of work done in 2025. And so we've got the applications ready, just about ready to go. I've got a couple of pictures that I've got to take of the streets, and we need some signatures. And we ultimately need to pass a resolution to accept the street transportation improvement program. So the other thing that I'll just give you guys a heads up on is we probably should have been discussing this in more detail in July. It's something that, just with all the different deadlines and things, it slipped. It's probably a good argument for having the commissions. Because like even in the prior resolutions, right, it was the street commissioner's job to, manage this process, make sure that it was moving forward. So, so in any case, I apologize for, bringing it to you kind of at the last minute. We should have had a little bit more time to discuss, but yeah.
Yeah, John, that commission thing, I agree with and everything, so we'll give my 2 cents. That would help us on that fraud thing you were talking about. Rather than, I'm just gonna throw names out, they don't mean anything. But I'm like the mayor gets with Roger and it gets done and the budget's done and all the money's coming in and going out and everything. But if you have the mayor doing it, John doing it, you doing it, doing the checking the finances.
Right.
And one of the council members sitting there going through it all. that would also give you more people to draw on to watch for fraud. Does that make sense? I'm not saying anybody's doing that. I'm just saying that give us one step up from what the auditor and everybody was telling John about. Help prevent fraud, have a bunch of people, not just one person or two per, excuse me, not one or two people doing it, but you don't have enough staff. Well, that would add another person's eyes to keep track of it. Not that I expect anything like that to happen up here, but
Even though that it all goes to council.
right. If somebody hands up and hands a bill and he doesn't see anything wrong with it, the next person could see something wrong with it, or the council member could see something wrong with it. And I'm just saying the commissions would help. One person's focused on like street. You get a bid for 85 grand, they come back and say, oh, here's the bill, 95 grand. We could. You pass that, I'll give you a few bucks back. No, we can stop it. We prevent that. Not saying stop it, prevent it. The more eyes on the prize, the less chance it can be misused or stolen.
All right. Commissions are a good thing, is what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is the commissions are great.
So do we need a motion for this plan to move forward, or what's the deadline to have this approved?
Right,
I
well,
believe it's-
in order to be able to apply for the TID funding,
And then, so what percentage of that cost is the tip?
nearly 100%,
Really, 100%.
at least 95.
And what is the total amount that we're talking about?
Well, so in this in particular, so the resolution to approve this basically, and everybody does have a copy, but it basically just says that we've reviewed this report. Your guys are in alignment with this is kind of the plan of how we want to take care of, what order we want to work on the three projects in. We've already gotten approval, you guys have already given approval for the TID grant funding. But the thing is that if the project is not in our STIP, TID can't award a grant for it. So these two new projects where we rolled up, the sidewalks kind of into that $1,500 or $1.5 million townwide project. And then the townwide crack and pavement seal today do not exist in the STIP. Those are what we're putting in the grant applications for TID for. So if we put that application in and does not have that on, then it's just no. Right, so that's.
So this needs to be added.
To this step, yeah, and like I said, it's my bad, it's just a piece of the process that. I missed in all the different, moving parts, it should be something that we discussed in July.
But we've seen the 6-year transportation plan.
Right, and like I said, it was approved last year with, and just like this, minus those two changes that I, advised. So nothing, and then the two changes, have been discussed, it's, adding in, the speed, they're taking care of speed issues, it's the drainage issues up on Smack now. And some curb and sidewalk and ADA compliance, stuff.
So we need to make a motion then to approve the changes to this.
Right, so you would make,
Resolution.
yeah, if you wanted to do it, you would make a motion to approve the resolution, and the resolution says that you approve this.
So I make a motion that we approve the resolution.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I just have a quick question. So if we don't pass this, are there any other alternatives to anything that we could do to achieve this, or is it we would just lose that?
Well, so no, it would delay some things, right? Because what we would have to do is then, our grant applications in this funding cycle would not get, approved. So we would have to take it out to a future funding cycle. So instead of being able to get the work done in 25, so the big thing that we would not get back, and it's not something that's terrible, but the, 20 or 30 man hours that, our engineer put into completing the applications and doing all that groundwork, 5 or 10 hours of my time, putting into it. So that's the only thing that would not be refunded. You would take down the rent is, some man hours, but, and it would delay the project.
Okay.
And then, the Northwest Washington Regional Transportation Planning Organization, or the RTPO, has a call for, transportation programs, for funding, to fund programs for projects, for estimating the funding to be available is $450,000. It's available to, Perry, Pomeroy, and Stevens County, so here's an option for us to get more funding for these projects. But there again, they're asking for a submittal from first through September 16th. So it's a pretty fast, time to get the project in.
So is that in addition to this?
It would be in addition.
Do we need that if we do this?
So whatever TIB wouldn't fund, this could,
So we would apply for that as well?
yes.
So generally speaking, for most of the TIB stuff, they will kick in 95%. And then, often then the town or some local resource is responsible for that up to 5%. Often we're able to build that 5% either with something from WASDOT or something from EPO.
So when would we know that we would get, is there time to find out if that's approved or not and still get that in, or do you do that at the same time? Do you apply for it at the same time?
I think the general theory is you apply for them all, and if something doesn't come through, then you just don't accept something, so if the TID grant.
So that's
falls
your
through
plan
and
on
the other
doing
one comes, you just don't
So
accept it.
if people would like me to, the council would like, we could submit this. And for one of the projects, yeah,
And applying for it isn't necessarily committed.
Right.
It's just applying.
yeah.
To me, it's worth it.
One,
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve this resolution. Any more discussion? Are all in favor? Opposed?
we do need a motion to apply for this, southern funding. If so, I'll make a motion.
Bill motion.
Does it require any sort of town council? Because I know for the COA grant, it wasn't required for their initial, but it just depends on.
And if there's no commitment, it would seem like to apply would be.
Generally
It's
speaking,
basically
the
an
applications take a mayor's
Yeah.
signature, but not a council. But then usually if you get awarded the funds, then, taking the funds then. Is yeah.
Okay,
But I would see no harm in this going to. And it's going to be forward with it, so I'll make that motion.
Second.
all right. Okay, that's,
We need to vote on,
what's that?
we need to vote on
Not to apply.
So there was a motion in
it.
the
There was a
second.
motion.
Yeah, there was a motion.
You guys are getting in a good habit. So that's the end of the new bit. So we're to the council reports. Position 1. Let's see, the airport has been mowed. We got a new cement floor in tool shed so that the rodents can't get in there so easy. Fly to kill. They knocked it out. Other than that, position 1 doesn't have anything else. So position 2, Paula?
So the nuisance ordinance, have we got that back from Logan yet?
Still on Logan.
Okay. So Mike brought up another RCW. You guys want to look at this? Is that
Well, it
something?
was on the slideshow that I did,
Yeah, this is good.
yeah.
I mean, it basically says every act or thing done or being within the limits of a town, which is declared by law, ordinance to be a nuisance, shall be a nuisance, and shall be so considered in all actions and proceedings. All remedies given by law for the prevention of abatement of nuisances shall apply thereto.
And it's an RCW. It's just
Yes.
another two.
To me, I think it's worth sending it to Logan and asking if he would add it. What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, Bob?
Last year in August, we had come to a meeting, it was stuck in our garage, but anyway, it was brought up about the town providing an area for yard waste.
For what?
For yard waste. Whatever happened with that? Because with this ordinance, you're gonna tell people that they can't have all that in their yard, but yet where are they gonna take it other than up into the hills?
No.
So is there a place here that the town has that something like that could be designated for?
So as I recall, the discussion was if we have a place to dump yard waste, it has to be, it has to be probably meant so you don't get a good place if anybody with supplies and so on. And so we sort of tabled it because it would be a commitment.
But it would be worth it. It's like, what about all the property where the sewer ponds are? I mean, there's a lot of acreage back in there.
Now, the trick would be manning it so that you don't get tires and garbage
Right.
and batteries and who knows what else.
So it would have to be,
These chemicals.
it would have to be open just certain days.
But
And man,
the county dump does take yard.
Not the
Leaves,
kind that I have.
leaves and trees and all of that.
14 truckloads.
We're taking trailer loads up there. Yeah,
and really that would
and
be
trailer load.
more of an ideal solution would be for the county to do this. Say, yeah, manned piece of property, lots of room up there. They wanted to compost or whatever, they could do this.
I'm willing to talk to Brian about it.
Give it a
See-
start.
See, you know,
I'll
if
give
there's,
you just a little update, because I did a little bit of work on this when it was suggested that it's being, last fall sometime. And everything Mike stated is absolutely accurate. One of the things that I had done is reached out and have struggled to get good contact, but I wondered if there was maybe a partnership available because, one of the universities is partnering with Merkle Standard out there. At the crypto mining facility, and they've got that year-round greenhouse that they're heating with the waste heat from their crypto mining operation. And so they're looking, they're trying to figure out if there's a sustainable local food year-round, ability to use this waste heat to grow food for the local community. Well, at some point, I assume that they need fertilizers. So I don't know if there's some opportunity to partner with them, maybe they'd be willing to man a location or something like that in exchange for taking all the stuff and composting it or something. So anyway, I've got a couple of contacts, but really the core thing is there's no one has taken a core interest to really run down and try to figure out how to solve all the obstacles, because it's unfortunate, it's not as easy as just giving them a space, because then, unfortunately, people, use that and put garbage and other things in there. So, if you want to spearhead it and do some legwork, I think that's really the only thing that has stopped this. Is it hasn't been a high priority. Nobody's taken it to be like, I'm gonna champion this and figure out how to get it done. So.
okay, I'll get the numbers from you.
For the record, but the other town are dealing with the same thing. Just you're aware that we talked about. And that this come up in discussion.
One of the towns just got fined by the EPA for handling something incorrectly, so you have to be careful.
So
what you're
that's
doing.
the town of cleaning.
Yeah.
And somebody dumped some creosoted riptide
Yeah.
that were like the edging for the flower box.
Mhm.
When they ripped all that stuff out, dumped it in the town's designated compost pile.
Mhm.
Someone else in the town had an issue with that.
Yeah. So,
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
if we contact the master partners and maybe they come out and do compost workshops, we an enormous amount of compost with our garden, then we don't have any problem. They can come in and bring them to the planet, or even I mean, it really, especially in the winter and cold, it goes very low, very fast. You put it on.
Do you have contact with people like that?
Look up the local master gardeners, yeah, I thought if I wanted to see my compost bins, I mean, we make a lot from our garden, so, yeah, and it just goes right on down, like, full leaf, you put the leaves in it, you put the weed eater in it, it's about this big in a leaf mold compost years. Just a simple bit, maybe just medication on that might help.
That's a WSU master. From WSU.
Correct, yeah, so the master garden is involved in that as well.
So the other thing that I had was anybody on the council towards the end of the building of this the conservation of the water, were you on it, Corey? Or was that for your time too?
Conservation of water.
Yeah. Where we charge for the people.
Because that didn't make sense.
I guess actually, I'm curious how he got that conservation fee and water fee charge waived from November to March. Because to me, if nothing else, August and September, people should be able to water their yards. I mean, our place was where the dead squirrel was, and just right behind us. And I had sent a text message to these kids that own this place in Spokane. And I was a little heated with them because they had grass that was 3 feet tall. And I think at the time it kind of ticked them off. But when Joe took a picture and sent that to Eric and showed him what could have happened to his place that day, it was like, I mean, I walk out the door and I can hear crackling, and I'm looking over that way because I can hear the crackling, and here's about 10 feet of grass, tall grass that's on fire, so, and they keep their water shut off there because they don't live up there. So I had to run back and get our hoses, to get it out, and Joe went and got a fire extinguisher. But the fact remains, if that wouldn't have been on a Sunday, and we've got all kinds of squirrels around there, that could have been disastrous for all of us up there. I mean, Mike and I might have been sitting there with no house, along with Chambers' house. So to me, there needs to be a way. I mean, I'm still going to try to figure out how we can approach this and get rid of that. And I think there's going to be a way to do that. But for right now, people need to be able to put water on their grass. This is scary. And it scared me that day. When it was all over with, I mean, at the time it was like firefighting mode, get this thing out. But after it was all over with, I stood there and I looked and I sent those kids a text and I told them, I said, I'm going over there because the trees that's between our place and their place, our property line is about 10 feet past that fence. So I went over and I cleaned up the dead branches that were on the ground, cleaned up pine cones and stuff. And of course, Eric is all for it now. He agrees because it scared the crap out of him too. But, there's so many places here in town that they probably wouldn't be that fortunate. So I'll walk over to Charlie and see if he will give me a straight answer how he did it. Because we can't find anything.
It's a money.
Well, we can't find anything in writing about how that happened. I mean, I'll go through that book that you said that you.
Yeah, well, it was passed by resolution. Now, I can't recall the exact date or the exact resolution, but it was either a resolution or an ordinance that updated, rates. And
Right, but it doesn't, what I want to find is that how did he stop it from November to March 1st? Why is it only from March 1st to November 1st? And then it stopped from November 1st till March 1st, and people are told you can use as much water as you want, and you're not charged, a $30 conservation fee. Yeah,
It's not peak usage. I
It's
think
not
that probably has to
the
do.
logic had to do with freezing.
it
The logic
did,
had to do
but
with
how did he legally do that?
Right.
Good question.
That's my question.
So
How
I
was it
remember,
legally done?
John was saying that it was the Department of Ecology or somebody
It's the Department of Health. It's the
That-
Department of Health that's
that was
requiring this.
finding people or one people underneath so many thousands of gallons a month.
Water and charge.
So I think
But
that's,
there's gotta be something legally that he was able to do that, because whether it's summertime, if you turn your water on in the wintertime and you don't shut it off for 5 months, you're gonna use more water than you would if you were watering your yard in the summertime. So what I'm looking for is that where was that legally changed? Because if we're going to get rid of that conservation fee and go to a different avenue of teaching people how to conserve water, which it sounds like that can be done because that's what Paulville's doing. They don't have a conservation fee. They do charge, but I think they have like 20,000 gallons that they give people. And then there's a small charge that they charge over the top of that, but they don't have that additional fee. So, and their fee for water is $75. Versus where ours is basically 60. You've got 30 for your basic and you've got 30 for your conservation fee. So what I'm looking for, so that we don't get in any trouble, is that how was that legally done? You know, because to me, if nothing else, people should be able to water their yards in, July, August, September. After that, it's getting cool and you're starting to get moisture in the ground and it changes some. But, so that was my question did anybody know how that happened? So
Well, and-
I'll just talk over next Charlie.
Yeah, and I think because it's the Department of Health is really who mandates that, right? Like,
Yes.
you make a motion and get it seconded and voted on right now, we'll get rid of the conservation fees tomorrow. Right. The necessary.
That,
That I don't. You have that.
Contact
Right.
how they do.
well, that's what I did. And that's what I found out. I've been talking to a gal that's in the Public Works Department over there. Her name is Sydney. So, and she was the one that sent me a huge amount of information and told me how Paulville was doing it. So, and she said that you don't have to, I mean, when this all started, it was like if you had, I think it was more than 1,000 people in your town, you were mandated by the Department of Health, you had to have some kind of a conservation program. But if you were 1,000 or less, you didn't. Well, all of these small towns chose not to do it. Well, then the court got involved and the judge issued a summons basically saying, you have no choice, you have to do this. So that was how all these small towns had to start putting this together. But like she said, there's nothing in that paperwork, and she sent me a copy of the book. And it sounds like John might have found one too. She told me to specifically look at some certain pages in there. She said, because she says there's options that you can go with. With them, what they did, they basically, when they started their program, they just sent out these kits to everybody that showed people how to conserve water. If you took a bath, this is how much water you use. It was like an education type thing, and that satisfied the Department of Health. But, so she said there's different avenues. So my thing was, yes, we can change it, but I don't want to get us in trouble later on down the road. And it sounds like we have to redo, what was that called, John?
The water efficiency report. or
Yeah,
water
and they-
use efficiency, yeah.
And they wanted us to go to 12,000 gallons. So they're gonna decrease this anymore. But the one thing she did say was
And we
go
are
around and take
12,000,
pictures. Take pictures of the town. And the one picture I'm gonna put in
Yeah,
is the
you got it.
fire by my house. It's
Good.
like, this is why, it's like, we're all green, but that place next door is not. And I'm not gonna water that lot that's in between it. I keep it cut, but I'm not gonna spend money on that lot. We do what we can. But there's so many places here in town that is just bone dry that it's like, this is something that the town needs to do.
We have the grass this far.
Like I said, that grass was 3 feet tall before he came up and mowed it. So I raked up a bunch of it the other day out of his yard and took care of it and stuff to try to slow down anything else, because we still got lots of squirrels at our place. So
What did the squirrel
Don't
do?
cook anymore.
he climbed up the pole, and there's I don't know what this thing was called. Well, I know it's a transformer, but there's a little switch that,
Deep ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. And Joe heard it. I mean, it made a loud buzzing sound and he said it sounded like sparks. And he looked around and he couldn't see anything. And when I walked out the back door, I could hear this crackling and it was like, it's fire. So I just start scanning, and when I looked over again along the fence line up there towards a bunch of weeds, the fire was up. So when we got over there, well, by the time I got the hose over there, and Joe had ran and got a fire extinguisher, and we got the fire out, but I looked down, I was putting water on everything, and I looked down and there was the dead squirrel, and I said, well, I was,
Yeah.
that was the culprit. And he was,
You wouldn't expect from a squirrel.
he was
Turn a
right,
squirrel into-
that was Mama Squirrel. I think that was Mama Squirrel because she's at our bird feeders all the time, but she's got babies still there. So it could happen again, but I mean, I've lived there for 50-some years and never had that happen, but it only takes once.
So we got a little more work to do on the water.
Yes.
Cool.
So the people that have the tall grass, are they in town limits?
Yes. They don't have tall grass. Eric listens to me. So they had come up and they had mowed everything down, but he hadn't weed whacked anything. There was still all the tall grass around the fence and everything. And, but he plans on coming back up when he gets his trailer back. There's a lot of crap over there because they tore a building down. And he said, I will get that place cleaned up. And Joe and I have offered to haul off a bunch of branches that are out there in the middle of their yard to help these kids get this place cleaned up for them. But that's not the only place in town though. I mean, I'm willing to, talk to people, but
Doing everybody's.
yeah, we need to help people be able to, to water their yard with it. So,
Okay, then move on here. Richard, position 3, do you have anything?
Nothing in addition to the COAF. I did have a couple of questions. Did notice, so we did downriver days. I'm kind of curious if there's any sort of tracking on a yearly basis of the events or attendance, incidents, things like that. I think it would be really good to have feedback, lessons learned, kind of and reporting of events like that. If there's other ones too, definitely, like during the holiday season. So just for town record, but for moving forward, that is the kind of reporting that is helpful in say these types of events are occurring, and if we did this, it creates a database of information. So I would strongly recommend we do that.
Good idea.
so is that something that we should ask when they come to ask for the use of the park?
Yeah,
Ask them to bring their statistics when it's over?
yeah.
And we do, so anytime that we use tourism money to fund something, there's a report that has to be done that basically has that, like how many people are in attendance, how many are from more than 50 miles away, how many hotel room nights did that generate, et cetera. So that's, I think, the tracking that you're kind of looking at. So the Trailblazers should be reporting tracking of that nature to us for downriver days because we have $550 in the budget that is due to them, but they can't have it until they get us that paperwork because it's coming out of tourism funds. So some of the events like downriver days, anything that has tourism does get that done, but we could probably improve processes around maybe just using that as a template. One of the struggles that we have is it's always up to the organization, to do that. And, some of it's like, how many hotel room stays did downriver days generate? Right? Like, how do you get that information? So if you're not a data scientist, it can be a little bit difficult for all these small community organizations. Like, how the heck do we figure out how many hotel room nights we, generated off of this or whatever? So, so that's often a struggle, getting it complete. It's not like you have a precise database where you can, look it up. It's, I guess.
Count everybody down there?
Right, well, they've had some counts, because they, do some of that, I guess they have to get on the phone with all the hotels and then RV places that are closed and say, how many people did you have staying there? How does that compare to last week, next week, and make a general guess at how much, So we get that for some of the stuff, like, the Bigfoot Festival had that stuff submitted, up there, so.
Right.
We get it a little bit, but yeah, something that we can look into for doing that maybe for everything, all the, events. Because you're right, it does improve brand
Yeah, definitely. And then along those lines, the graffiti in town, because there were some things I was kind of noticing during the winter days, and they go through, some things weren't quite fixed. I thought we're gonna, the graffiti, the same graffiti inside of the, one town paint, building that was.
Yeah, the water plant.
Yeah, and then there's a couple more around, there's one more that I know of, but, that and then in a timely fashion, like when would that also water to the edge of town, especially considering, with the cannabis retail location opening back up there again, there's gonna be more traffic going through there. We have the motel that is there too. I think the town has a vested interest in figuring out what's going on. So I know it's outside of town limits, but I think it would be very important to keep a tab on that and move forward with it.
So just out of happenstance, I had a conversation with the deputy today about that. And so what I was informed by the sheriff's deputy is that with that one house, so there's 3 houses, basically, right? There's 2 on Riverside, not too much can be done about them because there's lease agreements, and so it's a tenant, landlord tenant eviction stuff. That 3rd house that's on the highway, no one can provide the Padre County Sheriff with an ownership document of who owns that place. The person that legally owns it is deceased. And apparently that has not ever been, or nobody can produce documents that show who it's transferred to. So the Padre County Sheriff can do nothing without knowing who owns the property, because, for all he knows, the people that are squatting there own the place. So he can't kick anybody off until somebody can produce an ownership document. It's like once an ownership document is, produced and we know that this person owns the property and this person says they don't have the right to be there, he's like, we'll kick them off in a day. He's okay. Right? He's like, I can't kick people off the property when I don't know who owns it.
Who was living there that died?
No, I don't think anybody was living there that died. It's the German family. They're out of town. So like I said, I'm not integrally involved, but it just out of happenstance that the deputy stopped by today and we're talking about, the other, nuisance that we have over at Railroad. And then I just asked him if he had any updates on that. So anyway, that's according to the sheriff's deputy today. What their main point is they have no document that shows who owns the place. If he doesn't know who owns it, he can't take action against anybody.
So when the owners came up, they were not the owners?
Well, or they don't have the paperwork, right? Because, and I mean, we've run into it with, you've dealt with it, bought a, pickup truck that, he doesn't technically own because it's got to go through a rigmarole to get it, titled because the prior 10 owners didn't, title it and it was lost. So, I don't know in detail what they're, they stopped in the office here looking for the sheriff because they wanted to go to the sheriff and give him permission to kick people off. And they went there and painted all the no trespassing stuff on. They told me it was the daughter of the woman who owns the place. And so they may very well believe that the mom owns it and I'm doing this, but if the mom doesn't have a title document, she doesn't own it. So it sounds like probably the mom's husband was the one on the title. He passed away and something in probate or will or whatever didn't get properly done. So.
That's a
Mess.
So, but yeah, to your point, it would be great to deal with, but I don't know, I know that there's some community members that are trying to get in contact with, the owners and try to help facilitate getting this ownership documentation or whatever, but that's kind of the hinge point. I don't know that the town can officially do anything, but any individuals could, help by this.
Right, yeah. That's all.
Mike, we have an ordinance about that. People living in trailers, campers, whatever, in people's yards. I'm talking front yard. Maybe I want to have 2 or 3 in their yards, people to be in. And that's the, normally, the other city, you have a certain amount of time somebody can come and stay, usually 2 weeks after that. We literally have people living in RVs, 2 or 3 RVs in one back. One guy's got 2 trailers at the camper over here. People are living it. Is there anything that you can do?
part of it.
So our nuisance ordinance is in the lawyer's hand right now, and it covers a lot of that kind of stuff.
That's in that.
There's a lot of stuff connected to that. Those ordinances are messy. The sheriff said, if somebody is living in a thing, he can't get it towed, can't do anything with it. If they say that's my home, even if it's in a parking, he can't get it towed. So our ordinances have to line up with state laws and county. But we're working.
This year becoming more.
Not just, it's every. But we're,
Supreme Court shot down that anti-camping law in Spokane. Camp on the street, or camp in town. The Supreme Court said, no, that's legal.
okay, position 4, Sharon, do you have anything on that?
I have the information about the TPO, the
Our-
grant funding.
Our TPO,
RTPO, yes. And then, I was wondering, maybe at our next council meeting, if we could bring back up, the creating an ordinance for compression brakes because of Dan Nutt's letter that he sent to John regarding his conversation with the state patrol. So, it sounds like signs aren't enough. We do need an ordinance. We can bring that up at our next council meeting and maybe look at creating an ordinance for compression brakes.
the examples that Paula gave us are.
Well, and the Newport has an ordinance for compression brakes. It's on the state highway, so.
With the hill. Go ahead, Mike.
And at 25 miles an hour, what are the roads? 600 feet to the stop. That's how much. Shut that. So now that we're sitting down there, 25, we're doing. These people, 3 of us, on me. And we've got. And that's 3, and I'm talking. It's still, all right. So, and we also maybe adjust. I know you see it out in the rural area, certain speeds. Here, we slow them down maybe 600 feet is on the way.
We can put signs out, but they don't work as well as,
Yeah.
It's just quite a safety issue.
Well, there's also always the alternative too, that they don't drive through town. So yeah, it is something to where it is town limits. We should have a say on that. And even if it means whatever needs to be done to make it safe.
There's a sign right at, 8th and Smack Out that says truck route to the south.
Okay.
But they don't acknowledge that. I mean, they go both ways. I think it depends on whether they want to go to Porter's and get their food.
Right.
You know, so, but that does bring up the fact that when the sale comes through that Brian was talking about, that's gonna last for 4 years, we need to think about that with them going through our other streets, because that's gonna be a lot of wear and tear on our streets.
And we need the ordinance.
Yes, so I think that we do need to address that and let them know that there's one way. And that's, and it's gonna be on our road, obviously, that we're all living on. But if, by all rights, they shouldn't be doing more than 25 along there. And I mean, I see it, and most of them stop, most of them do, but some of them just kind of do a rolling stop and keep on going. But that it is a problem, but it's always been a problem. I mean, I've lived there since 1972. There's always been a problem here. So this isn't something that's new.
Well, I think our real solve comes in this $1.5 million, street project, because, from talking to the engineers, the solution to speeding is to put obstacles in the road. Right, if we made every single intersection on Howland, Blackwell, 4-way stop, they're not speeding anymore because they're in a line in front, they can't get up to speed in the intersection, right? So we just have to meter out that with traffic flow and, everything else. But I think the long-term real solution comes with engineering and changing how the street is designed so that people are not
One thing
encouraged.
that, the RTPO has is a traffic counters that towns can borrow to count the traffic that's on the road, and that can help get funding for these kind of things, but so that's available.
Right. And Steve Marsh, or the contractor, the engineering firm also, because he brought one up and put it, to help with some of this grant funding, because he wanted to measure traffic going in and out of the park to help justify better walking routes, down into the park from, the main. So, yeah.
I saw that up on, I remember the name of that creek, they had a count going across the road. Count how many logging trucks, how many trucks and vehicles,
Yeah.
People. Price. Sold the line.
Was that information about the,
Alright, gotcha.
and then, coming up with the ordinance from the compression units.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Cory, position 5, do you have anything?
I did, take that back. I had somebody approach me out, I was actually get out of the house.
You do?
I did. A person approached me wondering, we had this great thing down River Days, everything is going great, all this money was taken in. How much does the town get? I told that person, I don't know. I don't think we get any of it. He goes, that's wrong.
The businesses do.
The businesses do. It's to drive the business. They sell more, they pay more in taxes, da, 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 da. So that's circulating around town, that we need to stop waiving the fees for different projects on, like, down River Day.
Did we waive any fees on Down River Days?
We usually,
Yeah, they got free use of the park. Well, and to be honest, assuming that we have $550 in the budget, we're paying cash for activities that were for Down River Day. So, but to your point, I'm not
I'm
sure.
just asking
Right.
because I was asked, I didn't have any answer.
Yeah, well, I don't know how we would come up with an exact answer because we get something out of it because of tax revenue, right? So
Right.
we get from all the same tax. I'm not, right, like, I'm not a financial analyst of the caliber that is capable of figuring out how much of a tax increase we got associated with down
Yeah.
rates. But, there's something, going on there. We do, get something, but yeah.
That being said, I don't think there would stop anything from the city becoming a vendor at the event to do money making as well, because as far as I know, the Trailblazers make money, so do the Lions, so that there's a lot of other organizations that make money on it.
Yeah, and I couldn't answer, so.
Yeah,
Well,
the,
that's, Trailblazers, like, for example, over the years, Trailblazers has invested many thousands of dollars into work on the park, right? They do have.
well, I was gonna say, the COA grant, they've committed I think 2,000 hours of time, and that's a lot of money. A lot of
Right.
effort.
Didn't they
So,
also produce the ball field, or did the ball field up here, where the kids play softball and baseball and stuff?
Yeah, they've done,
That was huge.
yeah.
So I mean, the money's
Get
coming
some-
back.
get something.
So,
You need to maintain a good relationship with.
yeah, I'm just saying, that was the question I was at.
So maybe we could do a better job publicizing how those
Funds,
events benefit the town. So,
Okay, is there anything from the public? Open. I don't hear much. So with that, we're gonna, during this part of the meeting, and go into an executive session and discuss the mayor situation. You guys are ready to go. Find
Thank you.
someplace cooler.
I'm gonna end the online meeting as well. Okay. Okay.
Yes.